we're tired of being told that there is no alternative to austerity. We know that there is an alternative. We have an alternative. We've put it together ourselves through our democratic policy making process. There is an alternative. We want to put it into action. So we're here tonight to try and give people a bit of hope that they don't have to put up with this anymore. That there is another way other than endless cuts on people on low incomes. There are other people to blame for the economic crisis.
So what is the alternative? What's the answer?
Well, there are a lot of things to consider. We have proposals for a new banking system and a new way of creating money that avoids the financial sector operating in the way that it does that caused the financial crisis in the first place. So that's a part of the alternative. Another part of the alternative is to do with how you raise enough money to support the services that you need. So we don't need to cut services. We don't want to cut services. And if we choose to tax appropriately, we won't have to. And that's what the Green Party proposes. We're not suggesting increasing the deficit or the national debt. We're suggesting taxing rich people and corporations sufficiently to pay for the services that we need. And that's absolutely possible. There used to be much, much higher rates of income tax for corporations and for well-off people. Not very many decades ago, and it can easily be brought back in. And it seems like the current government, for some reason, don't want us to realise that. So that's a big part of the alternative. Another part is to do with what you do to get the economy moving, to get people into work and doing meaningful jobs. So there is a scheme called the Green New Deal, which is the Green Party's policy, the economic policy, which is primarily about creating jobs, doing things that need doing, funded by public spending, to improve the infrastructure of this country. So we will be creating jobs in insulating homes, in building new social housing, in building new renewable energy generation, so that this country is better set up to cope with the future that's coming, and also people are in work doing things that need doing, rather than being forced to endlessly prove that they're seeking work that doesn't exist. So that's the alternative.
So why do you think all this it's almost like an uprising at the moment, everyone's feeling a bit of change, I mean there's lots of branding revolution, why do you think it's sort of happening at the moment?
We've been in crisis for years. I also think there's been a bit of a reawakening of the left since, I gather, I mean it's slightly before my memory, but when the Berlin Wall came down in 1989, I've been told that the period following that, it was very difficult to talk about left-wing ideas. There was this sense that capitalism had won and there wasn't an alternative. And I think it's taken a while to recoup from that, and a mixture of that and the financial crisis, and just a growing awareness among people. We've got the internet now, which is a fantastic resource for sharing information. It's all starting to come together, and influences like the Arab Spring and others mean that people feel that there's a lot more options now come together, and there's a movement.
Yeah, there's a lot more people getting involved now. It's not just the protesters, the normal people, it's almost everyone who comes out on the streets. Yeah, change, definitely. So what do you think these sort of protests and movements, do you think they're part of the answer?
I think they're part of the answer. I think it's very rare that any positive social change happens without this kind of uprising. I think on demonstrations it never feels like you're achieving very much when you're there. You feel like you're standing around on a rainy street talking to each other, which is often what it is, but when you look back at it as a cumulative process, you realise that it does have an impact. So for instance, recently our government decided not to go to war with Syria. Well, in 2003 they decided they would go to war with Iraq. Everyone went nuts, and I think all the protests that happened around that event has affected how the government responded to the Syria situation this time around. They remember that, and so at the time, while it felt like those protests didn't work, I think they did work, and they've affected what happened in future. So I think while this won't necessarily resolve the problem of austerity and the cuts right now, and it won't necessarily bring immediate benefits, we will in future look back on this and realise that from coming together and demonstrating, we made it clear that we would not tolerate this, that we are not happy with this, and we want something different, and that will affect what gets done in the future. And the Green Party is somebody that is an option that I hope that people start looking around for alternatives to the current the three main parties that aren't offering an alternative to austerity. And I hope that people start looking around and realise that they don't have to put up with this, and they can choose more positive things.
So the protest, how do you think that works? Do you raise awareness? get people involved?
I think it's a small part of a big whole. I think it's great that we were here. Thousands of people would have seen us marching around the streets, and that will make them wonder what's going on. And it gives people a sense that things are happening, things are changing, there's a bubbling up, and on the news, there will be an awareness that there's been events happening all over the country. So yeah, I think it does help to raise awareness in a small way, and it's all of those small things coming together that raise awareness across the board, and eventually that builds up, and it builds up to a point where you can achieve real change.
So what do you think the future looks like now? People like us who watch today, what do you think the future holds?
I think it holds a lot of struggle still. I think we've got a long way to go. We certainly haven't won this battle yet. But I think there's huge hope. There's a huge amount coming together of pulling ideas. People are really starting to talk about what a different world could look like and how you'd go about it. It's not just we don't want this. It's what can we have instead? And that's really happening now. Thank you. And so I think the future holds what we make it hold. Really, we are the people that are going to create the future. If we want to create it in a way that we want, we have to come together and get on with it, which is I think exactly what we're doing today, and what I expect lots of other people to do.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.